Hi everyone, welcome back to our chapter 15. Today we're going to be discussing chapter 15-5, which is use logical reasoning to solve problems. Our math word is going to be half hour. Now this is definitely going to be tricky because it's going to be a lot of thinking. We're going to have to go back into the problem, highlight our key information, really figure out what the problem is actually asking us. So again, when we problem solve, we always read, we plan, we solve, we check. Okay, so we're going to have to use a lot of logical reasoning for this. So let's read it together and then we'll go back and highlight any information we really need to know. It says, Nolan has a skating lesson at 11 o'clock. Micah has a lesson a half hour before Nolan. Eli has a lesson a half hour after Nolan, who has a skating lesson at 11:30. Okay, this is telling us a lot of information, so don't feel overwhelmed. Let's go back and find out what's really important and what are we trying to figure out. So it says, Nolan has a skating lesson at 11 o'clock. Okay, so we have Nolan. Going to highlight that. Oh, let me just do it here. Could underline it. Okay, Nolan is at 11. Okay. Micah has a lesson a half hour before Nolan. So now we have Micah. What is so important about this? It's telling us, it's giving us a hint almost, that Micah's lesson is a half hour before Nolan. Okay, so we need to use our thinking caps, right? Make sure you have them on. And it's telling us that his lesson is a half hour before Nolan. So, keyword right here, before. Okay, it's before this time. Okay, because this is Nolan's time, 11 o'clock. His time is before 11. Okay. Eli has a lesson a half hour after Nolan, who has a skating lesson at 11:30. So let's figure out the first part of this problem because we know that problems sometimes have two different parts. They're asking us and giving us a lot of information, but we typically like to break it up into different parts so that we're not all overwhelmed. So let's figure out Micah's time. So it told us that he was a half hour before Nolan, right? So look here, look what they did. This was 11 o'clock. This was Nolan right here. See it pointing to the 11 and then it's pointing to the 12. That shows 11 o'clock. Watch what they did. They're going backwards because when you have a time that's before, you're not going to go forward here. You have to go back, okay? It's an earlier time. Just how when we count, when we're trying to get a bigger number, if I start at 1, right, and I'm going to 2, 3, 4, I'm going forward. I'm not going backwards. Same thing here. So on the clock, if it says a half hour before, I have to go back on the clock. Okay, so look what they did. They had 11, right, and they went back a half hour. Remember, I told you when you go back a half hour, you're only going back 30 minutes, which is only halfway around the clock. You don't have to go the full way. You're only going halfway. So look here, they went halfway. Okay, so now what's the new time? Again, when you have this hand, the hour hand pointing in between two numbers, right? You're always going to go with the smaller number because it just passed 10. Right here, look, it just passed this 10. Did not hit 11 yet, okay? So this time shows good, 10:30. Awesome. So there is one problem that we solved already in this whole entire word problem. So Micah has a lesson a half hour before Nolan. So now we know that Micah's time is 10:30. Okay, so we could write that right here. Awesome. So now we have this first part down. Let's go to this part. Eli has a lesson a half hour after Nolan. Okay, just change this color here. So now we have Eli has a lesson a half hour after, right? Look, look, look. After. All right. So we have Nolan's time is 11. This is telling us that Eli has a lesson a half hour after Nolan. So now, are we going back or are we going forward? Okay, I hope you said forward because now we have this word after. Okay, so we don't have to go back. This is going to be a later time than Nolan. So if Nolan's at 11, we have to find this time, which is after his time. So we have to go a half hour after. So look here, Nolan's time is right here, right? 11 o'clock, we have Nolan. Now we're going a half hour, right? So we're going this way. So if I'm at 11 and I'm going only halfway around the clock, look here. Now what's my new time? Again, you're in between these two numbers, 11 and 12. It just passed what number? What's the smaller number? 11, right? So this is 11:30. Okay, so now what time, okay, is Eli's lesson? 11:30. Okay, so now the question is, who has a skating lesson at 11:30? What's our answer? Nolan's is at 11, Micah's is at 10:30, and Eli's is at 11:30. Okay, so look how much we had to do to solve this problem. This is not easy. You have to plan, you have to really highlight your information. You have to go back and figure out what is this question really asking us. Okay, good job. So let's keep going. I like this because they organize it and make a chart for you. So look here, it says when and who. So look what they did. They said, okay, Micah's is at 10:30. Nolan's is at 11. Eli's is at 11:30. So they organized it for you, which really makes it a lot easier for you to make a chart. So it just says, read the problem. Nolan has his skating lesson at 11. Micah has his skating lesson a half hour before 11. Eli has his skating lesson a half hour after 11. So read the problem again, which we did. Check that the times are in the correct order. Okay, let's see. 10:30, 11, 11:30. Use the chart to find the answer. Eli has a skating lesson at 11:30. Great job.